evening, it's Tuesday, 25th of February, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. Peace efforts. Macron meets Trump at White House, emphasizes Europe's commitment to securing lasting peace in Ukraine on the war's third anniversary. Election upset. Germany's conservatives claim victory, but far-right AfD leaves Friedrich Merz in facing difficult coalition talks. Legend remembered. Grammy-winning singer and pianist Roberta Flack, whose unique vocal style defined the 1970s, passes away at 88.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Amarsha Fernando.
Good evening once again. Emmanuel Macron has said Europe wants to secure a lasting peace in Ukraine as he met with the United States President Donald Trump at the White House on the third anniversary of Russia's invasion.
The two heads of state met at the White House on Monday to discuss strategies for a ceasefire as European leaders seek to persuade the Trump administration to maintain its support for Ukraine and the transatlantic alliance. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer is also scheduled to meet with Trump on Thursday to discuss the deployment of peacekeepers in Ukraine. But the meeting came after the US earlier in the day voted against the United Nations resolution condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This shift in stance from the previous US administration has raised concerns in Europe. At the joint press conference, Macron said Europe was prepared to provide security guarantees to Ukraine. Macron also stressed that peace must not mean Ukraine's surrender. When asked directly about whether Russian President Vladimir Putin was ready to accept European peacekeepers, Trump remained confident. He also said that he believed that the war in Ukraine could end within weeks, adding that Zelensky could visit him at the White House in the next 2 weeks to sign a mineral deal. At a summit of European leaders held in Kyiv to mark the third anniversary of the war, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky echoed this, saying that he hopes that the war will be concluded this year, while also stressing the importance of having security guarantees to prevent future Russian aggression.
President Donald Trump said tariffs scheduled to hit Canada and Mexico next month were on time and moving along very rapidly following an initial delay, even as a US official cautioned the schedule could be less certain.
Many had hoped for a delay in the March 4 tariff deadline, which would impose steep duties on over $918 billion worth of imports, ranging from autos to energy. However, Trump has remained firm on his push for reciprocal tariffs, aiming to match duty rates and trade barriers imposed by other countries, including France, Canada, and Mexico. While Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron did not publicly address France's digital services tax, the US administration has ordered new tariff investigations into countries taxing major US tech firms like Google, Facebook, and Amazon. Canada and Mexico had previously strengthened border security, earning a temporary reprieve from Donald Trump's initial February 1 deadline. But with no clear sign of a full exemption, concerns remain that these tariffs will go into effect unless significant security progress is demonstrated. Adding to the uncertainty, Trump is planning more tariffs, including a 25% duty on steel, aluminum, and hundreds of related products set to take effect on March 12, just a week after the border tariffs. There are also new threats of tariffs on automobiles, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors, raising fears of an early renegotiation of the US-Mexico-Canada agreement, which is not due until 2026.
Bangladesh has resumed direct trade with Pakistan for the first time since its independence in 1971, with the first shipment of 50,000 tons of rice under a government-to-government deal.
The transportation of the goods marked the first instance of official trade relations being restored since 1971. Under a deal finalized in early February, Bangladesh is set to import 50 tons of rice from Pakistan through the Trading Corporation of Pakistan. The shipment will be completed in 2 phases, with the remaining 25,000 tons to be dispatched in early March. The development is seen as a positive step in fostering economic cooperation and reopening trade channels that remain dormant for decades. The latest trade deal is expected to strengthen economic ties between the two nations and facilitate direct shipping routes. After Sheikh Hasina's ouster as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh last year, the bilateral relations witnessed a thaw with high-level exchanges between the two nations. The interim government in Bangladesh has extended an olive branch, to which Pakistan responded positively.
India and Britain will strive to achieve a target that would go beyond a twofold increase in bilateral trade in a decade as the two countries resume trade talks under the shadow of tariff threats from US President Donald Trump.
The resumption of talks comes amid global economic uncertainties, including tariff threats from the US President Donald Trump, who has recently criticized trade barriers in key markets, including India. Despite these challenges, both nations are pushing forward with a focus on path-breaking free trade agreement and an investment treaty. According to British government estimates, bilateral trade in goods and services between India and the UK currently stands at £41 billion for the 12 months ending in September 2024. The talks, which were paused in March 2023 ahead of elections in both countries, have gained momentum following discussions between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his British counterpart Keir Starmer on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro in November 2024. While both sides are optimistic, several sticking points remain. India has long sought easier visa norms for its professionals and businesses to work in the UK, while Britain has pushed for lower agricultural tariffs and greater access to India's dairy market.
4 workers were killed and 6 others injured yesterday after a bridge collapsed at a highway construction site in South Korea, burying 10 workers under the rubble.
According to South Korean news, 5 massive concrete structures, each 50 meters long, collapsed one after another while being hoisted into place by a crane. A fire official confirmed that the victims included 2 Chinese nationals, and among the 6 injured, 5 remains in critical condition, including 1 Chinese citizen. Authorities say the workers were installing a bridge deck when the entire structure gave away, sending 10 people plummeting from both sides. Dramatic footage aired by Korean media captured the terrifying moment the bridge crumbled, leaving behind a twist of metal and shattered concrete. Rescue teams are working tirelessly with helicopters and emergency personnel combing through the wreckage. Acting President Choi Sang-mok has ordered the mobilization of all available personnel and resources to assist in the search and rescue efforts, while the Ministry of Transport has deployed officials to aid in the investigation. Authorities are now focusing on the cause of the collapse and implementing urgent safety measures to prevent further incidents.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. And welcome back. According to a statement from the Holy See Press Office, Pope's critical condition has shown slight improvement, which also noted the Catholic Church leader, who was hospitalized for pneumonia last week, resumed some of his work as he continued receiving oxygen therapy.
Prayers for Pope Francis at Gemelli Hospital in Rome as he continues his treatment. Doctors and nurses hoping for the best, after the Vatican said the 88-year-old pontiff remains in good spirits and is still able to feed himself. Outside the hospital and on St. Peter's Square, the faithful continue to gather. Monday's statement from the Vatican was slightly more optimistic than those given over the weekend. Nonetheless, discussions and speculations have already begun about the Pope's potential successor. Monday marked the Pope's 11th day in the hospital, his longest stay since the beginning of his nearly 12-year papacy.
Germany's Conservatives won the national election, but a fractured vote handed the far-right AfD its better ever result in the second place and left Conservative leader Friedrich Merz facing messy coalition talks.
Merz inherits an ailing economy, a society split over migration, and a country whose security is caught between a confrontational U.S. and an assertive Russia and China. His victory capped a campaign season roiled by a series of violent attacks and interventions by members of the U.S. Trump administration. They included Vice President J.D. Vance and tech billionaire Elon Musk, who showed forceful solidarity for the anti-migrant AfD, which has also criticized Germany's culture of Holocaust remembrance. Merz, who has shifted conservatives to the right, conditionally supports equipping Ukraine with longer-range Taurus missiles and sees Europe as firmly anchored in NATO. But he is heading into what are likely to be lengthy coalition talks without a strong negotiating hand. While his CDU and CSU sister party in Bavaria emerged as the largest bloc, it scored its second worst post-war result. It remains unclear whether Merz will need one or two partners to form a majority, but a three-way coalition would likely be much more unwieldy, hampering Germany's ability to show clear leadership. All of the mainstream parties have ruled out working with the AfD. If Merz is unable to form a coalition quickly, that could leave outgoing Chancellor Scholz in a caretaker role for months, delaying urgently needed policies to revive Europe's largest economy after 2 consecutive years of contraction and as companies struggle against global rivals. It would also create a leadership vacuum in the heart of Europe, even as it deals with a host of challenges, including Trump's threat of a trade war and attempt to fast-track a ceasefire deal for Ukraine without European involvement. Trump on social media Sunday hailed the election result as a, quote, great day for Germany, saying that its citizens, quote, got tired of the no common sense agenda, especially on energy and immigration.
A retired surgeon went on trial as Western France accused of raping and sexually assaulting hundreds of young patients, some while they were under anesthetic, the France's largest ever sexual child abuse case.
Here at the Morbihan Criminal Court in Western France, Joel Lesquarnac will stand trial. The surgeon is suspected of raping and sexually assaulting 299 victims beginning in the 1980s. How did the doctor get away with it for so long? Was there negligence? In the early 2000s, the FBI alerted French authorities Lesquarnac was accessing child abuse websites. French police wanted to question him, but he cleaned up his home, so when they searched it, they didn't find anything. He received a 4-month suspended sentence with no obligation to undergo medical treatment and no restriction on the practice of medicine. A few months later, Lesquarnac was hired in another area, but one of his colleagues who was aware of his criminal record alerted the authorities in 2006. The colleague questioned the doctor's ability to treat young patients, but once again, the surgeon went unchallenged and continued his career. In 2008, another hospital director was informed of Joel Lesquarnac's past, but took no precautionary measures and teams were not warned. Here, Lesquarnac will claim a further 20 or so victims. In 2017, he attacked his 6-year-old neighbour. The parents filed a complaint and an investigation was carried out. In his home, investigators found child-sized dolls and discovered 300,000 child pornography documents as well as black notebooks. The surgeon recorded the dates of the rapes and the names of his young victims. Now adults, they will face him during his 4-month trial. Joel Lesquarnac, aged 75, is currently in prison and could serve a maximum of 20 years if convicted.
Attorneys representing federal workers have filed a lawsuit against Elon Musk, alleging that the billionaire and Trump advisor violated the law by demanding employees justify their accomplishments over the weekend or risk termination.
A lawsuit was filed against Elon Musk and the Office of Personnel Management, contesting Musk's recent email demanding that all federal workers list their accomplishments from the previous week. The email also said non-compliance to the order would be considered resignation. President Donald Trump supported Musk's initiative, saying the email aimed to verify active employment, suggesting that non-responsive employees might not be fulfilling their duties.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news right after this. And welcome back. Roberta Flack, the Grammy-winning singer and pianist whose intimate vocal and musical styles made her one of the top recording artists of the 1970s and an influential performer long after, has passed away.
Her version of Killing Me Softly with his song, winning 2 Grammys in 1973.
Telling my whole life with his words, killing me softly with his song.
When I first heard the words, killing me softly with his song, just the sound of those words together had such magic for me.
Her smooth vocal style, her poetic soulful ballads, her grace on the piano. One of the top recording artists of the 1970s.
That's the time I feel like making love to you.
Roberta Flack Flack was born outside Asheville, North Carolina in 1937. She was a classically trained pianist, so gifted she received a full scholarship at 15 years old to Howard University. She became a school music teacher, and she would perform at night before pursuing her dream.
The transition from the classroom to the stage was a very easy, smooth one for me personally. I'd rather think that the facility was the direct result of my being prepared. The first time ever I saw your face.
Her version, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face, becoming her first hit after Clint Eastwood asked to use it in his 1971 movie Play Misty for Me. It would go on to win a Grammy. She would win 4 Grammys in all, a 5th Grammy for Lifetime Achievement. Roberta Flack died today at the age of 88, surrounded by family after a battle with ALS.
Love is a song and an honest giving of feelings and emotions. As a performer, if you can connect to that thought, then whatever the song is, it's success. I'm happy to be Roberta Flack. I'm happy to sound like I do. I mean, I'm very satisfied with that. Yeah.
Organic farmers in Cyprus have recruited hundreds of retired hens to fertilize olive groves in a pilot project they say boosts yields, counter diseases, and helps manage food waste.
While hens are usually sent to slaughter after their egg-laying years, these have been saved by organic farmers in Cyprus who need them to fertilize their olive groves. A farmer and a soil engineer have launched the Kotkot project, which they say can boost yields, counter disease, and help to manage food waste. The farmers collect food waste donations to feed the retired hens. Their droppings enrich the soil as natural fertilizer for olive trees. The hens can enjoy a long retirement among the olive trees and live up to 10 years despite only laying eggs until the age of 2.
A French cheese company has officially set a new world record, surpassing a Swiss rival's previous attempt by cooking up a massive 4,800 pounds cheese fondue.
They came out in the thousands. Gusts of heavy wind and constant rain couldn't keep the French at home. Not when a world title was at stake. In the heart of Jura, eastern France, more than 5,000 people gathered to try what has become mankind's largest cheese fondue. Weighing a whopping 2,177.5 kilos, it's made up of 40 Comté cheeses, aging from 9 to 21 months. On top of that is 2 kilos of garlic pulp, 1.5 kilos of white pepper, almost 55 kilos of cornstarch and water. Then it had to meet certain rules set out by the Guinness World Records. The giant fondue was served over the weekend at an all-you-can-eat festival in the courtyard of France's second largest fortress. In 2009, the Swiss produced a fondue weighing more than 1,440 kilos, but the Guinness Book of Records referee says it was never certified by them.
A 17-year-old Massachusetts teen is bringing a classic Pontiac Firebird back to life, but he's not doing it alone. He's restoring the iconic sports car on weekends with his grandma.
Car-loving Granny is sharing her passion with her grandson.
Kick it over anyway.
Deborah Luke spends her weekends with grandson Connor Hendrick at home in Massachusetts. Together, they're trying to restore this 1987 Pontiac Firebird. The car is more than twice Connor's age. While it's been a 2-year project so far, they both say they're enjoying the journey.
We've pretty much just been tackling like the mechanical side, like the engine, redone the brakes. It's very fun working with her, and then every step is like a big milestone.
He's very talented. He knows about cars, but he's never actually put his hands on, and it's just wonderful to be able to work with him. I love it.
Deborah says she's loved cars since she was a teenager, and it seems this apple didn't fall far from the tree.
And well, that's a wrap from all of us on World News Tonight. Up next, Anuradha Vikramsinghe is standing by for the nightly business report. I'm Marsha Fernando, and we are going to leave you with the visuals of Demi Moore and Mikey Madison dazzling at the Spirit Awards. Thank you for watching and have a good night.